Hey, what's up, you guys? Anthony here. Welcome back to another video. And in this one, I'm going to be showing you how I structure my Facebook ad campaigns to generate over $100 million in advertising revenue. And not only has this worked for myself, being able to scale my first e-com brand to 7 figures in its first year, but also helped several brands at this point make the jump from 6 to 7 figures, scaled this brand from $70K a month to almost $1 million a month, this brand from $96K a month to $842,000 a month. These are the same strategies that I'm teaching my students inside of my course and community God's Your Ecom. So huge shout out to Tyler. Using this strategy and setup, was able to scale to $2,500 a day in 7 days using this structure and setup that I'm going to show you. So make sure you stick around to the end so you can learn this setup and implement it into your business. And guys, I promise you, once you understand this setup and you learn how to use it, you're going to be able to make significantly more money in your business, save yourself a lot of stress and hours spent in your ad account, and just make it that much easier to scale. Because trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. I've tried every single strategy. I personally have paid for courses. I bought Alex Fedotow's course for like almost $8,000. I bought John X. Paul's course for $2,000. I bought every single dropshipping course, paid for all these different marketing courses. And when I tell you this strategy is the simplest yet most effective, I'm not kidding, and I've seen all of it. So make sure you stick around to the end and let's dive in. So in terms of how to actually set this up and the structure, I like to keep this in mind. Keep it simple, stupid. It's an acronym. And the reason for that is because media buying tends to be overcomplicated. It's kind of going away in 2025. People are starting to realize some things about media buying such that it's not as difficult as people make it out to be. It's actually very, very simple. It's more so important the quality of the inputs that you're giving to Facebook and less so the kind of structure that you're using, the audiences that you're using, that kind of thing. It's just kind of not been as important as Facebook starts to get more strict and take away more controls from the advertisers. And that's a good thing because it requires us to really look at the quality of the inputs that we're giving to the machine, our creative, our offer, our landing page, our product, and really examine those things under a magnifying glass and really be honest with ourselves if those things are actually of a high enough quality to be able to generate results when I can't rely on media buying hacks and tactics to kind of force my way into results. So when it comes to media buying, I like to keep these principles in mind. So principles are basically just a set of beliefs and basically, underlying beliefs that are going to inform every decision that I make inside of an ad account and when I'm media buying on Facebook. The reason why you need principles is because you need a foundational philosophy or ideology that's going to ground every decision that you make. Because if you don't have principles inside of your ad account, that's going to lead you to making decisions sometimes that are not aligned with how you believe the ad account should be structured or what is true. So for example, if I don't believe, and if one of my principles in media buying is that creative and messaging are the new targeting, then that might lead me to launching a whole bunch of campaigns, a lot of ABO ad sets, and trying to test out interests instead of testing new creatives. Or if I don't understand, or if one of my principles is not that I need to test new creatives if performance is not there, then I risk trying to find that performance by forcing it through media buying hacks or just simply not testing enough creatives. So these are the principles that I want to employ onto you. These are just 5, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of some of my core principles when it comes to media buying. And I keep these at the center of my focus every time I enter an account. Every time I go to check an account, I rely on these principles because they're going to inform the decisions that I make. And when you have principles like this, it's going to keep your decision making consistent. When you don't have consistent decision making, when you're doing shit on the fly, when you're making decisions willy-nilly just based on how you feel, or you're making emotional decisions or irrational decisions, that is what's going to kill your performance in the ad account. So it's very important you understand these principles. And so principle number 1 is Facebook allocates and spends my budget directly proportional to the ad set's capacity to generate results. And that means in a CBO setup, if I give Facebook a $100 campaign budget and I give it 2 ad sets, my underlying belief is that Facebook is allocating the spend to either of those 2 ad sets based directly on those ad sets' capacity to generate me a profitable return. That means that I have full confidence and full trust that Facebook's ability to predict and allocate the spend is more effective than my own, which is why I don't use ABO and why I rely on CBO. And I basically say, Facebook, you probably know a lot more and you're able to predict consumer and user behavior a lot better than I can and a lot further into the future than I can. I'm going to give you the reins when it comes to budgeting and deciding which ad sets get spent. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that creative and messaging are the new targeting. And if I want to target a specific audience, then I need to give Facebook the input that allows it to go after that audience. So if I want to target people who have a specific pain point, that needs to be in the creative. If I want to target people who want a specific desired outcome, that needs to be in the creative. If I want to target people who are a specific age, those avatars and demographics need to be in the creative. I am under the assumption that Facebook is completely blind, and the only context that it has to inform who gets shown the ads is in my creative and my landing page to a certain extent, but predominantly in the creative. Facebook is scanning your creative, it's reading the text on the images, it's scanning the audio, it's reading your copy, it's reading your headline, and it's using all of that to then create an audience that it can go after. But it's only going to create that audience for that particular demographic that you want to target if the qualities of that demographic or the things that would resonate with that demographic are in the creative. And if they're not, you need to fix the creative. Number 3, audiences and interests are a dying breed. Look, everyone says interests are still working. Some people are going to probably leave in the comments, broad does not work, interests work. That's totally fine. That's your prerogative if you want to use interests. I personally think they're just a waste of time. Audiences and interests are a dying breed. Let's get that right. Facebook is getting rid of them very, very quickly. And if Facebook snaps their fingers and gets rid of audiences entirely in terms of interest targeting, demographic targeting, and all they say is, all you can do is basically choose the country and that's it, which is basically what Advantage Plus Audience is, then if you're someone who relies on interests to get performance, you're fucked. So why would you put all your eggs into a dying basket, right? Why would you learn how to get really, really good at creating newspapers when you should be learning how to create digital media? It's the exact same thing. Put your eggs into the basket that are going to be here in the next 5 to 10 years, and audiences and interests, sorry to say, are probably not going to be a part of that. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's just how the industry is trending. Number 4, cost caps allow me to test a shit ton of creatives with no risk. If you are a drop shipper, if you are someone who is in a position where you have more leverage in terms of time and not in terms of budget, you should be using cost caps. Cost caps will allow you to test a shit ton of creatives with no risk, or we'll say with much less risk compared to a lowest cost campaign. The reason why I love them for a dropshipping context specifically is that when you are dropshipping, the chances that you have you are able to produce the kind of creative, the kind of offer, the kind of landing page, let alone do you even have the kind of product that can handle running a campaign on lowest cost? The chances are very slim because majority of the time you're using content that's not yours, right? You're using images on your product page that aren't yours. You're writing the copy with ChatGPT. So every input that you're giving to Facebook is suboptimal, which means there's a lot of risk in running a lowest cost campaign. And so what we do is instead we put our leverage onto quantity and quality of content that we give to Facebook. So when we put a cost cap on, it basically says, I am willing to not spend with these suboptimal inputs, and that given a long enough time horizon with enough volume, which gets into my next principle, I will be able to get these cost caps to spend. And so if you're dropshipping and you're a beginner, you 100% should be using cost caps because they will protect your downside as you figure out the kind of content, the kind of offer, and the kind of landing page that are really going to drive performance without a cost cap. You can still scale with cost caps, as we just saw. Tyler's doing $2,500 a day. That's basically a $100K a month run rate. So you definitely can't scale, and it definitely is possible. But definitely in the beginning, if you're dropshipping, cost caps are going to allow you to test those creatives with no risk. Lastly, if performance is not there and you need to get performance up, you got to test new creatives, ideally 20 plus per week. You cannot write off products after 3 days and 3 images, or 3 days and 3 videos. 99% of the time, your ad fucking sucks. And it's the harsh truth. If you're a beginner and you've only been doing this for 3 months, do you honestly think the first 3 videos are going to be the 3 videos that make you your first $1,000 a day, that make you your first profitable dollars selling products online? If you genuinely believe that, honestly, hats off to you. The raw reality is that no matter how good you are in this space, no matter how creative you are, no matter how long you've been doing this, you cannot escape volume. Volume trumps everything, right? So if performance is not there, if you're not getting the performance from your product and your campaign, you need to test new creatives, because we've already determined as a principle that audiences and interests are not going to be the way that we get performance. The main way that we get performance is going to be in testing new creatives. And because creatives and messaging are the new targeting, we know that we can influence the performance and influence the kinds of people that get shown our ads based on the creatives that we show and that we give to Facebook. We'll do a whole separate video on creatives because that's a can of worms. I don't want to open that in this video. But from a broad general sense, if performance is not there, your main lever to get performance better is creatives, testing more creatives. You want to test the highest volume or the highest quantity of quality creatives that you can, ideally at least 20 plus per week. Those are my principles that I want to share with you, and that's going to inform how you jump into the ad account every single day. So now let's take a look at the setup and the strategy. So the actual campaign setup is going to look something like this. So we have our CBO campaign. I like to go $150 a day. I get a lot of questions. Does this work at 25, 50, 100, whatever? The budget you could think of is basically how quickly you want to get the data back, right? So if you're spending 20 bucks a day, but your cost per purchase or your break-even cost per purchase is 60 bucks a day, well, then you need to let that campaign run for at least 3 days and let the campaign spend at least up to a break-even cost per purchase point for you to even make a decision. Because if you're spending 20 bucks a day, you might get 0 sales day one, and the next day you get a sale. Well, all of a sudden that campaign is actually extremely profitable. You're not going to know because you're moving so slowly. So budget is basically proportional to how quickly you want to get the data back and how quickly you want to spend. That being said, I would rather someone spend $50 over a week than $100 over 3 days, because Facebook really thrives on time and giving these things, giving the campaign time to actually figure out who your buyers are. So CBO campaign, if you can afford it, 150 bucks a day is the most ideal. Campaigns are going to be set up per product, per offer, per landing page basis. So if you want to test, let's say you want to test an advertorial, you want to test a listicle, you're going to create a separate campaign for that, and you're going to segment the campaigns based on the landing page that they're going to. Same thing with the offer. If you want to test buy one, get one in one campaign, buy two, get one in another campaign. So in terms of the setup, we're always going to have one testing ad set, right? And the reason why there's only 2 ad sets shown here, I'll explain in a little bit, but this is basically how we break it up. You want in your campaign a testing ad set and then a winner's ad set. Basically your unproven ads and your proven ads. When you are just starting out, you're not going to have the winner's ad set. You're not going to have proven ads. So just focus on adding in as many new testing ad sets as you can. The setup of the testing ad set is going to be, first of all, the entire setup of the campaign is a cost per result goal campaign. Then your testing ad sets are going to be set to a cost cap of 20% below your break-even point. And this is the maximum allowable CPA that we want to let Facebook spend against before we reach into unprofitability. Every time I've set the cost caps to the actual true break-even, it's never worked out. The campaigns just end up going and shooting way over. When I set them to 20% below break-even, I usually end up in the testing phase right around the break-even point. Sometimes if I'm really lucky, the cost caps are just flying off the walls and we actually fall below the 20% below break-even point. But majority of the time, I would say when I set these cost caps to 20% below break-even, that usually gets me CPAs that are a lot closer than 20% to the break-even point. So this is the maximum allowable CPA. This basically tells Facebook in the testing phase, hey, you can spend my money. All I want to see is this a product that can actually sell break even? I just want to get to break even, because if I know I can get a product to break even, then it's very, very simple to optimize it for profitability. But you will find in testing, the hardest part with Facebook ads is getting a product to spend on a cost cap and to actually produce sales volume, right? That is the most difficult thing. Getting a product, if you can get it to spend the full daily budget on a 20% below break even cost cap, you will see that if you can get that campaign to spend consistently over a week-long period, you can optimize for profitability. Because all you got to do is lower the cost caps, increase the amount of creatives, maybe improve your offer, raise your prices by $5. There's so many different ways to find profitability, but finding profitability is like going from 80 to 100, and then finding something that's going to sell with actual volume is like going from 0 to 80. That's the first like 80%, and then 80 to 100 is optimizing for profitability. Attribution setting, 7-day click, 1-day view, broad targeting or advantage plus audience, and then no changes. I don't really do any age demographic targeting or anything like that. We're doing a minimum of 3 images and 3 videos and or 9 to 12 total ads in every single ad set. I've actually kept this super simple as of late. I'm typically doing like 1 flexible ad and then 10 variations per flex. Sometimes I'll do like individual ads, like in this case here, because especially in testing, it's really it's really helpful to see the kinds of messages that are actually working and the kinds of formats that are actually working, which is something that you can't see on flexible. So if I'm just running really efficiently and I just want to test very, very quickly, I just throw it all into a flex. But for you guys, I would recommend testing as individual ads, because then you'll be able to see which ads specifically in terms of the creative are actually the ones that are getting the spend and generating you the results. So you want to launch as many new testing ad sets as you can every single week if you are testing a brand new product. Again, do not write off products after 3 days and 3 videos and 3 images tested. You want to shoot for a minimum of 20 ads per week. That can be 5 videos and then 15 images, one concept with 10 variations, and then another concept with 5 variations. Ideally, you have for every image concept at least 10 variations, because it's super simple to just take that concept, duplicate it 9 times, and just change out the headline. That's 10 ads right there. And then for every single video, you should be doing at least 2 or 3 hook variations, which is, again, very simple. Export your current video, swap out the first 3 seconds with a different visual, with a different text overlay, and then there you go. So it's not like you have to do 20. I'm not asking you to do 20 plus new concepts. I'm asking you to take 4 to 5 brand new concepts and make sure you're doing variations, because you'd be surprised. A simple tweak in the copy or a simple change in the first 3 seconds can have a dramatic change and impact in terms of how that creative spends and the kind of results that you generate. So you're launching these new testing ad sets, and the second you find a winning ad set or a winning ad, you're going to move that into a winner's ad set. And this winner's ad set is actually not going to be 20% below break-even point. Eventually, you want to get this winner's ad set to the cost cap target, right? And eventually, if you can actually get out of the break-even point, you will lower the cost caps to your actual true target, right? So we only use the testing cost cap to see if the product is worth spending on, or if the product can actually get spend at a break-even point. If a product can get spend at a break-even point, there's almost no point in continuing on with it. Like if you can't get spend on a break-even cost cap, just imagine what would happen if you didn't have the cost cap there. You'd probably be fucked, right? So eventually you're going to lower, as soon as you start to hit profitability, you're going to lower these cost caps to the true target, which for me is always going to be anywhere from 20 to 30% profit per transaction, right? Okay. Then once you have the cost cap lowered, now your ad sets are optimized for profitability. And then this is going to be your winner's ad sets. You're going to take the winning post IDs from these ads here, copy them, and put them into their own dedicated ad set. And this ad set becomes where all of your scaling ads go into. This is your best of the best ads. These are the ads that generate you the most money and are hitting your target. And that is all that should be in here. If you only have one, that's totally fine, right? You only need one winning ad to really scale an ad account anyways. So setup is going to be the exact same. 7-day click, 1-day view, broad targeting, advantage plus audience, and the top performing post IDs go in here. This is how you optimize this thing. And basically what I've done over the last 4 years of running this setup. CBO campaign, every week, let's say Monday, you come in, you launch all your testing ad sets, see how they perform. If none of them perform, you scrap everything, launch more test ad sets. Let's say you launch everything on Monday and everything performs. You're going to move those winning post IDs of the ads that do perform well. You're going to put them into their own dedicated ad set. And that's it. So CBO campaign, you're launching as many new creative tests. Every time you have a batch of new creative to test, you throw them into a new ad set. Any winners, you move them into the winner's ad set. If they don't win, or if the ad sets hurt the performance of the CBO campaign, you turn them off. That is it. What's great with this setup is that once you have at least one winner, that winner's ad set stays on forever. You will never turn off that ad set. And what's great is that because, going back to our principle, right? Facebook allocates the spend directly proportional to the ad sets that will generate the best results. Because you have one ad set with your best ads that is always on, this ensures that the only way for the testing ad sets to get spent is they have to be a better opportunity of investment for your ad dollars than the winner's ad set. Because CBO is picking between the two, right? And we know it's optimizing for the best results. So if you insert a ad set into the CBO campaign and it doesn't spend, that is because your winner's ad set is a better ROI. If you insert the ad set into your CBO campaign and it takes the spend from the winner's ad set and it improves the performance of the overall CBO campaign, then you know that it is contributing to a better ROI for your ad dollars. And that way you can then move it into the winner's ad set, and you ensure that at any given point in time, you're always giving Facebook the opportunity to spend in the best ads, because they're never turning off, which means they're always there. If you launch 5 shit ad sets and all the creatives suck ass, then that's okay, because Facebook will recognize that and dump all your money into the winner's ad set anyways. So it gives you this freedom to be able to test at a very, 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 very high volume without really worrying too much, because number one, you have the cost caps, but number two, if the ads suck, it's fine. You have the winner's ad set in there anyways. So those creatives will get the majority of the spend until you can produce something that can actually beat those winners in that ad set. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. I feel like I've been rambling and yapping on this topic for quite a while. Just wanted to make a video on CBO campaign setup and the setup that's been working quite well for me as of late. If you guys enjoyed this video and got a ton of value out of this, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to get access to more coaching and see a little bit more in depth how I set up campaigns like this and help people like Tyler generate results like this, then check out the first link in the description. Otherwise, hope you got a ton of value out of this. As always, super excited to be back on the content grind and back from being sick. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.